Welcome to CyberByteFM, your ultimate source for cybersecurity, privacy, compliance, AI, and threat intelligence. Get expert insights, breaking news, and practical tips to stay one byte ahead in the digital world. Unlock the code to safer systems, decode the threats shaping tomorrow. Hit subscribe and join the frequency. Okay, let's dive right in. If you're leading security, you know this feeling, right? You understand the risks, the vulnerabilities, the whole attack surface inside out. But then you sit down with the C-suite, maybe the board, and somehow the message just doesn't connect. It sort of fizzles out.
It really does, and it's probably the most critical communication gap in business today. We've seen stats, suggesting that the usual security talk, citing high CVE scores or just general industry threats, often falls flat. And why? Because it's disconnected from their world, the world of financial duty, growth, profit, and loss. It's not really a technical failure. It's more about failing to translate.
Exactly. You could have the best security tech on the planet, truly cutting-edge stuff, but if you can't get the budget, if you can't get that executive buy-in, well, your amazing architecture is basically running on hope.
Yeah.
And you end up stuck in that dreaded cost center box.
Which is precisely why we're digging into this today. Look, the CISO role isn't what it used to be. Real leadership now means moving beyond just reporting technical findings. It's about becoming a strategic partner, someone who manages business risk.
Yeah. So we looked at a whole bunch of communication frameworks, presentation templates, successful budget pitches from across the industry. And today we're literally sharing the phrases, the structures that actually get you the budget you need versus the ones that, well, get you ignored. Think of this deep dive as your shortcut to mastering boardroom risk translation. It's about becoming that indispensable advisor.
Okay, so let's start where most of these security talks begin, the threat landscape. The sources we analyzed pinpointed a really common mistake, calling it the attacker's exploit in communication.
That's a clever name for it. The attacker's exploit. Basically, it's when we overload executives with technical details, right? Too much jargon. We see leaders talking about specific CVE numbers, high scores, without immediately saying why it matters to the business. No context?
It completely backfires. If you start listing, hundreds of malware types or the nitty-gritty of how a DDoS attack works, you're just swamping them. It's information overload with stuff that, frankly, isn't their priority. Here's the key thing. The board needs to understand the outcome, the potential business hit, not the technical mechanics. Focusing on the technical what just sidetracks the whole conversation, dilutes the real message.
Oh, I remember doing this early in my career. I had this massive deck, 45 slides, detailing every single security layer. Seriously. And the CEO, maybe 5 slides in, just cuts me off and goes, "Jack, just tell me which of these things actually keeps the lights on." Oof, that was my big so what moment.
Okay,
It hit me like a ton of bricks.
And that that's the turning point, isn't it? So the actionable advice, the real DO here, is to shift gears, turn that technical threat into material risk that the business understands. You've got to relentlessly focus on the business impact, the context, the relevance to them.
Right, so instead of saying, "Hey, we found this new really nasty ransomware," you translate it. You say what it actually means for the company.
Precisely. Articulate the threat in their terms, organizational terms. For example, if threat group X successfully uses this known vulnerability in our third-party billing system, okay, that's the technical bit, quickly, we project a $5 million revenue loss. See? Downtime, cleanup costs. That's the language that gets attention. Instantly prioritized.
That kind of specific link makes security feel like a core business function, not just some tech overhead. It connects directly to the bottom line. But the sources also stress needing quick, concise storytelling. How do we bake that into a model we can use on the fly?
Yeah. That's where the 30-second risk story comes in. The trick is to borrow the language you'd use after an incident, but use it proactively. Forget the technical deep dive on the vulnerability itself. Just hit 3 quick points.
Okay, point 1.
Root cause. High level. The root cause was a vulnerability in system X. Keep it simple.
Point 2. The business impact. The so what.
Absolutely critical. State the consequence clearly. Disruption. Financial exposure. The potential business impact is a 4-hour disruption to our main sales operations. Direct.
Got it. And the third point, remediation. What are we doing now?
Yep. We're patching this across the enterprise within the next 72 hours. This brings our exposure back within acceptable risk levels. That's it. Tight, actionable, decision ready. Being able to quickly link a threat, say, to the sales CRM and show how it directly threatens the revenue pipeline. That's effective threat storytelling.
Okay. That whole storytelling idea leads nicely into our first quick win, the so what drill. You mentioned simplifying concepts, maybe using analogies like lock and key for encryption. But are we risking sounding, I don't know, a bit too simplistic for a strategic audience like the board?
That's a fair question. We're definitely not trying to talk down to them. The analogy should be a bridge, right? Not the final destination. Use lock and key if you're explaining, say, PII, personally identifiable information, maybe to a new data governance group. Fine. But for the board, use a simple concept, then immediately pivot to the strategic implication.
Okay, so explain it simply, then instantly connect it to a major business goal.
Exactly. Like, take zero trust. You wouldn't just say trust nothing. That's too basic. You frame it strategically. Implementing zero trust is what allows our aggressive M&A strategy. It lets us securely integrate new companies much faster, segment by segment, right from day one. That's connecting the technical choice to business strategy.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we framed the threat in business terms, but let's be real, that's only step one. Step two, the part that actually gets things done is securing the investment. Let's talk money.
Right. And this brings us to the next big communication mistake. Presenting the technical wish list.
Oh yeah, I see this all the time in draft presentations. Security leaders just listing tools. We need a new firewall, costs us dollars. We need a new SIEM, costs dollars on. There's no connection to a measurable business outcome. It's just a list of stuff.
And it fails because it makes security look like just another IT expense, something for procurement to haggle over and minimize. Not a strategic investment. And definitely avoid relying on FUD. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Vague warnings, trying to scare them into funding. It just kills your credibility long term. Executives can smell panic a mile away.
So the powerful DO here, the shift we need, is justifying every single request, every dollar, with clear ROI or quantified risk reduction. We have to stop talking about the cost of the tool and start talking about the money it saves or the value it enables.
Absolutely. Think about it. The C-suite manages risk across the entire business, HR, supply chain, finance, everything. Cyber risk needs to be presented in the exact same financial language. So instead of talking about vulnerability scores, you frame a potential data breach, say PII, as a $10 million to $15 million financial liability, based on potential fines, legal costs, customer churn models, real numbers.
That's a big number. But what happens when finance pushes back? How do you actually defend that $15 million estimate without just weaving some generic industry report? They want specifics.
Good point. That's where the rigor has to come in. You can't just pull numbers out of thin air, no FUD. You need defensible methods. Use established risk models. Leverage historical loss data if your company has it. Use industry benchmarks, sure, but weight them based on your specific regulatory environment, GDPR penalties, CCTV fines, whatever applies. So if you're asking for money for a new identity and access management system, an IAM solution, you project, based on current exposure data, that this system will reduce potential fraud losses by, say, $3 million to $5 million. That link makes the budget request an investment decision. It's about potential savings, not just tech spending.
That transparency is everything, isn't it? Linking the money directly to a specific function protecting customer data, meeting a key compliance rule makes it a clear business need, not some black box IT cost.
And to really help you operationalize this, we pulled together what we think is the ultimate quick win. The 60-second executive summary slide template. Seriously, the structure is designed for communicating material risk and value effectively.
Yeah, you can pretty much copy this framework for your next budget pitch. Just remember, the whole slide needs to be about outcomes and financials, not just listing activities or tools.
Okay, first element, strategic alignment. Your very first point has to show how this security initiative enables business growth or strategy. For example, this enhanced cloud security program is essential for enabling the company's Q3 digital transformation goals. See, security isn't a blocker. It's part of the engine.
Got it. Second element, a clear risk reduction metric. This is where you present your high-level roadmap, but using KPIs tied back to business goals. This is where that quantified risk reduction number goes, right? Like this data protection initiative is projected to cut the likelihood of a major breach by 40%.
Exactly. And finally, number 3, your financial ask. This ties it all together. Frame the investment needed to achieve the ROI, or the value you just described. Something like, the $1.5 million investment in IAM is required to realize that projected $3 to $5 million reduction in annual fraud losses.
Yeah.
CUF. This template, this is your go-to executive summary slide. It nails the narrative needed for cyber budget approval.
This proactive stuff is vital. Definitely. But, the real pressure test for any CISO is crisis communication. What happens when things go wrong? How do we build and maintain trust when systems are down, everyone's panicking, and the phone's ringing off the hook?
Right. Let's talk about the big don't for incident reporting. Avoid diving into dense crisis communication jargon and absolutely avoid assigning blame.
Yeah, the second you start talking about, like, specific incident response procedures or the exact attack vector details, you've lost them. You've lost control of the message. Executives don't need the technical play-by-play during the fire. They need confidence that things are under control. Too much tech detail just confuses people and distracts from the recovery message.
And crucially, and I can't stress this enough, never ever point fingers at individuals right after an incident. It absolutely tanks team morale, kills any chance of open reporting later, and honestly, it makes the whole security team look fractured and unprofessional.
Yeah.
Also, resist the urge to make bold, unrealistic promises about recovery times. If you miss that timeline by even an hour, your credibility takes a massive hit. Underpromise, overdeliver.
Okay, so the deal here is clear. Lead with a business impact summary, then status, containment actions, recovery plan, and regulatory clarity. The entire focus needs to be on building confidence and showing you have a clear plan. Control.
You start by quantifying the operational impact. Simple terms. We experienced a 4-hour disruption this morning. It directly impacted sales operations, stopping new order processing. Clear, concise. Then outline the actions using straightforward business language. We've contained the affected systems. We're now restoring critical services phase by phase. Simple updates.
And hitting the legal piece head-on is so important. Shows foresight. Clearly state the legal obligations you're addressing. We've activated our GDPR and CCPA notification protocols with the legal team. External counsel is engaged. No guessing about fines, just stating the process is underway with legal advice.
Which actually leads us neatly into our final quick win. We need to reframe compliance as a business enabler.
Oh, this is a huge mental shift for a lot of security folks. We have to stop treating compliance, IPA, PCI, ISO 27001, whatever it is, like it's just a checkbox exercise, or just some annoying IT cleanup task nobody wants. That view really limits our strategic value.
Instead, frame these regulations as things that actually help the business grow or build trust. You can point out how getting ISO 27001 certified, for example, doesn't just tick a box. It actually helps win strategic partnerships, or it opens up new markets that require it, like government contracts or certain financial services sectors.
Right. So the value proposition becomes much clearer. Compliance isn't just about dodging a penalty. It's a driver of customer confidence. It can be a competitive advantage. And yes, it does directly reduce financial risk, both the chance and the potential size of regulatory fines.
That's the language. That's the CISO operating strategically at the highest level of the business.
Okay, great stuff. Let's quickly recap the 3 big shifts we talked about today for really nailing that C-suite communication.
First, translate every threat into dollars and cents. Quantified financial impact or potential revenue loss. That's your threat storytelling. Ditch the CVE scores. Talk business impact.
Second, justify every single budget request, every dollar for cyber budget approval with clear risk reduction numbers or demonstrable ROI. Frame security spending as a business investment, not an IT cost.
And third, when a crisis hits, lead communication with the business impact, the recovery status, and the legal regulatory steps. No technical weeds, no blaming. Focus squarely on building confidence through clear, controlled updates.
Getting this communication piece right, it really feels like the final hurdle for a CISO moving from just being the tech expert to being a true strategic business leader.
It absolutely is. The ultimate goal is to stop focusing your conversations solely on security stuff, protocols, tools, threats, and start talking consistently about business value, managing risk appetite, enabling growth. When you make that shift consistently, that's when you solidify your position as a truly indispensable strategic advisor.
So here's a final thought for you based on all those blueprints we looked at. Grab your last presentation deck. Seriously, pull it up. How many slides are focused on the technical with the tool, the vulnerability details, and how many focus on the business? Why? The strategic reason, the financial outcome, that ratio? That often tells you if you're operating as a technical manager or a strategic advisor. Something to think about. Unlock the code to safer systems decode the threat shaping tomorrow. Hit subscribe on YouTube at CyberByteFM and join the frequency for weekly intel.